Good to know Shabbos Parshas Kedoshim. The Parsha opens, V'amarta Aleim, Moshe tells the Bnei Yisrael, Atem Kedoshim Tiyu Ki Kadosh Ani Hashem Elokeichem. You should be holy, be special, be unique. As the Parsha explains at the end, what does that mean? V'yisem li Kedoshim Ki Kadosh Ani. That you, every single Jew and Jewess, can be Kedoshim, could be unique, could be special, could be holy to Hashem. By separating from the routine of life and drawing closer through mitzvos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we asked in the email this week that this parish of Achrei and Kedoshim is so full of using karbanos, the Beis HaMikdash, Yom Kippur, and the service, the avodah of the Beis HaMikdash, the Kodesh that we don't have. And then we had our Mikdash Ma'at, our shuls with shiurim, with rabbis to lead us, to teach us how a yid grows, what's right and wrong in Torah. And now we're missing our right arm. Disadvantage can become power. I want to share with you two amazing stories that really need no explanation. There was a young boy, a lone soldier, an American boy. He joined the IDF. And since he comes there on his own, he's a chayil boded. A few weeks after he enlisted, finished training, he enlisted in the regular forces, he was injured in battle. Badly. And as a result, he lost his right arm. He was no longer able to fight, and he was very upset and depressed. He didn't know what to do to pull himself out of it. Here he is, this young teenager, all alone in a foreign country, completely incapacitated, no motivation. People gave him all sorts of suggestions. Till one person comes along and he says, listen, Abe, why don't you try karate? Karate, it sounds absurd. But for some reason he decided, I need to burn energy, I'm going to do it. And he joins karate, he gets an excellent coach, he joins this karate course, and soon enough he's trained in the karate, and he goes for his first competition, and he was pretty good, missing the arm in spite. He enters the first tournament and he wins. And his coach tells him, he says, go for it. Go for the regionals, get involved, try to compete. And hesitantly he joins the karate competition, and slowly he's practicing, he's building it up, and it comes the time for his first official fight, and lo and behold, Abe wins the fight. And he goes for the semifinals, the regionals, match after match. He's managing somehow or another to beat it. And finally, shock of shocks, he makes it to the regional final. And the coach tells him, listen, when you're getting about halfway through the match and you're ready to either win or lose, you have to perform a certain move. And he instructs him repeatedly on that specific move. He says, do this and you'll win. Sure enough, it comes the game, the match, and he's sitting and he's fighting. And it was no joke. Here he is with one arm. The other guy was a master with two arms. He wasn't really able to hold his own. When he decides, now's the time to follow the coach's orders, he does that move, and all of a sudden, within seconds, it works. Sure enough, he pins his opponent down, and he wins the match. He's the champion. Everyone's congratulating him. This amazing story, this injured chayil boded, and he raises himself up like that. When things quiet down a little bit, he goes over to the coach, and he says, Coach, I don't understand. Why were you so sure that I do that move, I'm going to win, and it worked like magic? The coach looks him in the face, and then looks away, and he says, I'll tell you the truth, Abe. I knew that there's only one way that your opponent could stop you when you do that move, and that's by grabbing your right arm. But you don't have a right arm, so there was no way he can stop you. You find in life sometimes that the greatest efficiency is what enables one to become a champion. Now listen to this story about using a deficiency to grow. Moshe Leon, he's a great guy. I've met him a few times. He used to be a chazan in a shul. but now he's better known as the mayor in Yerushalayim. A wonderful man he had. Before he became a politician, he was the partner in a rather large accounting firm in Israel. Moshe Leon shared the following story. Unbelievable story. There was a young boy named Dovi. Dovi was a young boy who had an older brother he adored. His only older sibling was 17 years old. His brother got very sick, and sure enough, his brother passed away. And Dovi was beside himself. But things were worse than that. Dovi's father was very sick as well. Only 4 months later, his father passed away as well. Dovi was 14 years old. He's left in this world, his older brother, his mentor gone, his father, his mentor gone. He was now, at 14 years old, the man of the house. He didn't know what to do to keep himself afloat, and Dovi decides, you know what, he's going to take a Masechta. Masechtas Megillah, not a terribly difficult one. And he's going to learn it in memory of his beloved father and his beloved brother. He'll be kainit, he'll make it his own, he'll review it until he knows it really well. And finally, it comes time to make a siyum. He completed the Masechta. He felt he knew it. One problem, Dovi didn't have any money. The illness that his father and his brother had both suffered had drained them of all their finances. So he goes over to his Rabbi, little 8th grade boy, fresh off his bar mitzvah, and he says, Rabbi, can I borrow 50 shekels? So Rabbi says, Dovi, what do you need it for? And he explained, he said, Rabbi, I'm making a siyum on Masechtas Megillah. I finished Megillah on memory of my father and my brother, and I want to buy some cake and soda to make a siyum for my mother and my friends. The Rabbi looks at Dovi and says, Dovi, that's not how we're going to make a siyum. I'm going to make the siyum for you in my house. My wife is going to cook a suda, a meal, multiple courses. We're going to serve it on china. For such a siyum, I want it to be proper. Dovi felt like $1 million. And he says, well, who can I invite? His Rebbe says, don't worry, you can invite all your friends, all your family. Give me a list. Dovi comes the next morning, he gives his Rebbe a list, and on the list, in the bottom of the list, is one name, Moshe Leon. So Rebbe looks at the name, he says, Dovi, you sure? He says, yes, I know him. Moshe Leon, they all knew, was a well-known politician who at that point, in 2014, he had just lost his first try, his first election when he ran for mayor. He lost to the incumbent Nir Barkat. As the Rebbe promised, his wife puts on a gorgeous spread, and 2 nights later, everybody gathers in the Rebbe's apartment. They sit down, they enjoy a beautiful 4-course meal. And as the evening was drawing to a close, Mr. Leon gets up and he asks for permission to speak. And he says, Rabotai, I want to explain to you how Dovi and I got to know each other. And this is the story that he shared. In 2013, when I was campaigning for mayor, during the campaign we discussed, as all politicians do, different photo ops. What's going to look good? And one of them, when we were looking for pictures of interacting for people in the street before Sukkot, they have this big Arba Minim shop where they sell Ulavim and Esroigim. And I went there with my staff and the photographers to get a few pictures, make it look like I'm a nice guy. The place is teeming with people of all ages and all types. And I noticed one young yeshiva boy, seemed to be 13, 14 years old, and he was carefully examining a lulav. I go over to the boy and I ask him if he could explain to me a few of the halachos regarding the lulav. And the boy launches into a clear stream of all the requirements to find the very best lulav. Moshe Leon says, I was surprised. How does this young boy know those halachas so thoroughly? So I asked him, why do you know this? I asked him, well, what's going on? Why are you such an expert? You're a baki. And he looks at me and he starts crying and he says, I'll tell you the truth. I just lost my father recently. And I lost my older brother as well, and I know my family's counting on me to go and find a good lulav. So I studied those halachos as well as I can. When he heard this story, Mr. Leon says, I reached into my pocket, I handed Dovi the card, my private business card, and I said, Dovi, I want you to invite me whenever you make a siyum. I want to be invited. And he says, guys, he looks around the room and he says, that boy was Dovi. That's why I am at this siyum. But not only that, I brought along in the car downstairs, it was too heavy for him to schlep it up, I brought a full set, 32 volumes of Shulchan Aruch for a present for you, Dovi. And I'm going to sponsor, I'm going to pay for this siyum here tonight. But more than that, I'm committing publicly that when it's time for you to get married, Dovi, I'm going to pay for your wedding and pay to set you up in your apartment to start you off. And everybody starts clapping, looking around the room. It's unbelievable. He wasn't running in the campaign at that time. He was a person of some means. He's able to do it. And Moshe Leon wipes away a tear. And he turns to them and he says, I want to explain to you, why am I so invested in this boy? He says, as you all know, I lost the election. And after I lost, I began to wonder, why did Hashem put me through this? Why did he make me go? He had moved to Yerushalayim just to run for this election and try to win this. And most of it was because I wanted to uphold the Yiddishkeit in the city. I wanted to help the people. But I lost the election. And I realized that there was one meeting I had during the campaign that stood out, that had affected me deep inside, and that was my meeting with Dovi. And it struck me that perhaps the only reason Hashem had wanted me to even run for mayor was that I could meet with this Dovi. Hefsadeti et Rosh Ha'iriyah, aber kibalti et hameser. I may have lost, he told them, the job as the mayor, but I got the message. I got the hint. I'm not letting Dovi go. Sometimes in life, that's what it is. We get this makkah now, this isolation. We have to figure out how to make the greatest out of deficiencies. El kol adas b'nei Yisrael. When Moshe told us in this parasha, "V'yatem diu li Kedoshim," you can be Kedoshim, you can be special, you could be unique. He was talking to everybody, each and every individual. The parasha zu b'hakel nemra. It's a parasha that was told as a congregation together. It wasn't given to an individual to go it alone. The message was that it was a chabura, it was as a group together, as a community. A person, a yid, is not wired to function in the desert alone. We're wired to function as a part of a community, to belong to a chevra, spiritually, socially, and when we study, when we grow. But if we look at it, before we got this makkah of isolation, we had a refuah, we have an avenue to prevail. We have the internet, we have email, we have smartphones, we have Zoom, we have YouTube, we have myriad websites and apps full of Torah and mitzvah opportunities, full of inspiration. We have an online community that we belong to in our shul. These video messages, groups, our mikdashos, our Beis HaMikdash, our mikdash ma'atz, our shuls might be closed, but we could still swing with our left arm. We can still go spiritually, emotionally, and physically and overcome the handicaps of the times if we choose to listen to the messages. A blind man once asked God, can there be anything worse than losing your eyesight? And Hashem replied, yes, losing your vision. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos.